Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Conquer the Clutter podcast for the 24th of September. I hope everybody's having the same weather that we're having. It's delightful. I know it can't last, but please, Lord, can you just stretch it out a bit and maybe give Florida a little bit of a cold spell while we get a little more nice weather. All right. So I want to talk a little more about what our options are when we have anxiety, whether it's a chronic thing that you live with or whether it's just an unwelcome periodic thing that arrives like an unwanted guest. Okay. And we are always being told by somebody how short life is and that we need to make the most of it. Okay. Unfortunately, for those who do experience unmanaged anxiety, you've probably taken that message way, way, way too seriously. And there quite often is some degree of unrealistic, like it just doesn't add up reasonably, given the parameters and the circumstances around you or your expectations of what under those circumstances when the anxiety starts to set in. There generally are circumstances around that are not favorable in some way for you. And to unrealistically keep your eye on the finish line being you can manage it, it should work a certain way. Should is a shovel that just digs you into a hole. All right, put away the shoulds. Um, so I want to do a little bit of a check-in with you. How many people here today feel that if you don't do everything, we're talking everything, that you see needs to be done, or that you believe is an opportunity? So there are two ways to hear. It's a job that needs to be done, or it's an opportunity that if you don't make the most of it, like you're compelled to make the most of it or you failed, that opportunity will disappear. All right. And while you're doing it, you need to do your absolute best. How many people here? All right. Now I want you to take out those papers and pens, and I want you to write down the last few experiences you've had with what was the nature of the opportunity or what was the job that needed to be done. And you had this really high standard for yourself. Now, sometimes that high standard is realistic, but when things pop up, we're not Superman and Superwoman here. We may not come to those events with enough arsenal to handle it, and certainly not to handle it optimally. So, what would it take for you to get off your own back? And we're not talking about accepting substandard, any old thing will do. We're talking about assessing what the best is you have to offer that situation in that time frame. So it's what I call plumbing your depths. Plumb your depths. What have you got in the tank, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually? Because that's all you've got to work with. And if you're going to blame yourself for not doing an ace of a job because somehow you missed the opportunity and it's a deficiency of yours, or this thing that you really don't like to do anyway, or maybe somebody you really don't like and you never did, you're never going to like them. You're not going to see the world the same way, but you need to deal with them. or it. Optimal? Really? And can you see how should completely cuts you off at the knees? All right? You're not a machine, you're a human being. And it sets you up for a pattern which is really destructive. And if you didn't have anxiety before, sure as shooting, you're going to have anxiety after. If you adhere to, it's not good enough. And not good enough isn't acceptable. Okay? Good enough is good enough most of the time. There are very, very few instances, and I like to restrict them to the house is on fire. All right, and I got to get out. And I've got to get the people, certainly Coco and Ellie, the dogs out, and that's it. That's good enough is good enough. All right. So today, here, ask yourself, how many of you too often don't even give yourself the basics to be reasonably resourced? Something as simple as sleep. Right now, in the last 3 days, I would like you to put down on your paper and pen, what time did you go to bed? What time did you get up each of those 3 nights? And how well did you sleep? Now, how many of those last 3 days can you circle as you woke up absolutely refreshed? You had dreams, so you know you got into REM sleep. You were like, ah, another day. I don't know what's coming. All right. And I'm not Pollyanna, but I have more than enough steam in the tank. How many people, hands up, how many people had that happen? I am seeing no hands. On one hand, yay, good. I won't name the person. I don't want to center them out, but yay, one person out of 37. Oh, 2 people. Yay, good. Now, go back and ask yourself, each time you did not give yourself enough quality sleep, or just even basically enough time to sleep and wake up ready for the day, go back and ask yourself, look back and see, is this a common experience? Or is this just sort of the last 3 days have been a spectacularly different, negative, not good enough experience? Because every day that you didn't give yourself enough sleep and rest, but we're talking sleep, all right? Because it's at night during sleep that we heal and we refresh. That's some little entity in this universe comes with a little gas thingamabobber and fills us up. All right. That's where you get rested and you get ready and you get energized. How long has this been going on? How many times do you come to the day with whatever it's going to bring you or cost you? And you're not even half ready. You're not even half resourced. Are you willing to do anything about that as a basic first step? Let's just put the mental health part aside, because the mental health part is hugely impacted by what provisions you put in place physically. Forget stress. All right. Are you willing to start working on a regular, adequate regime of going to bed, getting off the blue screen tablets and TVs? All right. Record the evening news. You can listen to it in the morning. Don't go to bed with the evening news. All right. Are you willing to work at that? Because if you're not willing to work at that deliberately, that means you are planning on limping through the upcoming day. And sooner or later, when you've done that often enough, the most basic, one of the most important resources you have is the healing that happens physically, mentally, emotionally. Those dreams, by the way, if you let yourself get into REM sleep, those dreams are quite often symbolically trying to put the widgets in place so that you, when you wake up, don't even realize you already have a plan. And you think miraculously you aced it, you pulled it off. But during the night in the REM sleep with your dreams, quite often you're putting those little required widgets in place. Did you know that? So if you do one thing after today, start working on getting adequate sleep and adequate rest while you sleep. And if you can't do that independently, go online, get the best advice, and or speak to your doctor. All right? And take the best advice available because you're giving away one of your biggest free resources. And it's basic to health. All right? How many people here, if they look back on the anxiety that they experience in some way, all right, it's caused by either a need, an experienced need to avoid, or a commitment internally to endure relationships that frankly aren't working. And what is in it for you? Somehow there is a belief or an experience or an interpretation that that is what you need to do to get closer to some goal. All right. Some important goal you have. Is anybody living that reality of life? Do you feel like whatever you're chronically putting up with, if you don't put up with it, will disappear and you will never be able to have even a reasonable amount of that independently by something you do or know already? It's dependent on avoiding a relationship or enduring a relationship. Because if there's any part of that that is true for you, first of all, I'm really sorry that that's a belief you have, because it's committing you to accepting the anxiety as the currency for what you feel is immensely important to you. Bottom line, I want you to ask yourself right now and throughout the rest of this week, let it percolate with you. What matters the most to you in the long run? What matters the most to you in the long run? And what matters to you when you experience or you feel conflicted? It can be about a relationship. It can be about a habit you have. It can be about just about anything that pops its unwelcome head up. Now, we've talked last week and the week before about our basic, most important fundamental values. What values do you believe in? And more importantly, what values do you most want to represent you throughout the rest of your life? And are you ready to ask yourself that question? And when you have that answer or answers, and they represent the fundamentals of who you are, what you stand for, what you believe in, what your bottom line is, are you willing to evaluate yourself based on your own most important values? And are any of them best friends with perfectionism? Are any of your values part of, connected to, related to perfectionism? What are you prepared to do about that? Because you've just created a dead end for yourself. You are committing yourself to ongoing anxiety. Or even if anxiety didn't disappear, an excess in the experience of anxiety. Here's another question I want to ask each and every one of you to answer for yourself. When you look back on your life, like Shauna does right now, thank you, God, on how you've spent your time, how you've spent your effort, your energy, that thing that sleep will increase for you, how you've spent the resources you have. How many opportunities are there that might actually end up better moving forward if you could manage the anxiety? So don't tell me not managing sleep as a basic health resource and other things that we've talked about aren't worth the effort, that they're impossible. They're not impossible. If you could manage the anxiety, how many opportunities that are still ahead of you might actually end better? Why? Simply why? It's not that you're going to eliminate anxiety. We've already talked about that. That ship sailed. All right. You can't eliminate it, but you can learn not to let it run away with you or to overwhelm you or to get the jump on you, like a big jump. You get the little rumblings, but you handle it at that point. Because if you can do that, you can still remain present, much more present and okay, both with yourself. You build confidence, you build a belief, a very firm belief that even though you don't handle things perfectly, you handle them well enough and you limit the cost for yourself and usually others, especially those people who are most important to you in your life. And if you didn't have to do everything perfectly and call that reasonable, all right, might that make it increasingly possible to actually accomplish more? What do you think about that? Is that drive, that unrealistic, unhealthy drive for it's exactly, I'll know when I'll feel it, I'll whatever. All right. I'll know it when it's perfect. Just the way I want it to be, I need it to be. If that's not coming together reasonably, with reasonable effort, with reasonable resources, you can always go back and touch it up. All right. Might you actually accomplish more? Might you actually not have to go to overwhelmed? You know, the hardest part of doing anything is getting off the couch. Getting started is the hardest part. It is many people tell me it is made a whole lot easier if you have a buddy, which is why I spent so much time. And you folks picked it up and you've created 2 or 3 clutter buddy groups. That's what we need here. How do we accomplish these requirements? It's sort of like you're in a movie theater and the lights go out, all right, and the film is supposed to play. But the one thing you can see before the film life starts playing out on a film, is the red sign for the exits. These are the exit signs to the things that are holding you back. And who knows? Not only might you accomplish more, you might actually have more enjoyable, fun things. Some of them have to be positive. Nothing is all positive, nothing is all negative. Some of the outcomes that you will accomplish and enjoy have to be positive. But the one thing that will be a gift to you is you're not wasting your energy and focus with that internal struggle and conflict that is perpetuated by chronic anxiety. You just have to get out of the loop. And these are basic, doable ways to start disengaging from the loop. Because what anxiety is, fundamentally, bottom line, is the search for safety in a process of an internal war, often associated with perfectionism. Unrealistic ideal standards for others, for people, for yourself, for projects, for outcomes, you could put any title on there. And while we're at it, let's do a reality check. All right. If there's anxiety in your life, I'd like you right now to look around you, wherever you are right now, and ask yourself, for the anxiety, for that cause, how perfect is it anyway? You're not losing anything. Even with the anxiety, how perfect is it anyway? Too high a cost to pay, and it's not giving you a return. In this search for safety from something, either what you think about yourself, what you think about others, what you think about your environment, what you think about your future, what you think about, what is it? What is it? Are you aware of what you are searching for? If you're still alive and breathing, then you're fundamentally at a basic level okay. All right. And if you're still alive and breathing, you're still in the game. Don't disable yourself with a lot of self-recrimination for how you didn't do something, how whatever it wasn't good enough. Basic, really basic in some cases, all right, as far as safety, as far as livability, but it is doable. If you're able to come here and you're able to maneuver Zoom, all right, you are physically, mentally, and emotionally enough. You are. You are in search of more, and there's nothing wrong with that. But more is never going to be perfect. Because as you do something here, just say a job, you do a job. I don't want to discourage anybody, but as you do a job, and you're applying your resources, your time, your energy, your focus to that, something behind you is going to need to be done. That is the routine of life. Okay. But you are physically, mentally, and emotionally enough to manage. And what would it cost you really and truly? Like, really and truly. We've just talked about getting started is the hardest part. So while you're looking at the self-supporting resources like sleep, you don't have to do this, but I do want you to think about it. I do want you to challenge yourself about it. What would it cost you if it isn't perfect anyway for all of this angst? All right, to put in 15 minutes a day at a minimum at a task you don't want to do. Not to exceed more than 30 minutes a day when you're getting started. Why? I've said it so often, because if you end on this being a drudge, you're not going to go back to it if you're just starting. You really need to habituate the positives of, if I just stick with this 15 minutes, where is that timer? Because when that bell goes off, I am out of jail. All right. When you habituate that, you can add more time, but you never end on a drudge. You never end with that feeling like the next time something needs to be done or could be done and improved, which is part of your goal, perhaps, you never have the thought go through your mind, oh, I'm not up to that. Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I did it. I started off with 15 minutes and I did 3 hours. You know, you have to, like an athlete, you have to work up to longer periods that don't end up disabling you the next time you need to get started. You can do it when you retrain your mind, your body, and that anxiety. All right. Because when you take and you use the information that the experts and myself are offering you, what you're actually doing is retraining your mind and your body, and you're retraining your anxiety to face the things you need to face, clutter-wise and otherwise, no matter what they are. And when you do that, you habituate it, even if it's just 15 to 30 minutes, right? You are, every time you do it, 15 to 30 minutes better off than when you started, just for having done it. And you take the credit for that. Whatever can be accomplished in 15 to 30 minutes, you make a target And if you repeatedly can't finish what that target was in 15 to 30 minutes, there's nothing wrong with you. So long as you're still upright. Okay, you haven't escaped to Netflix, is what some people tell me. Okay, that target, that time, maybe well, almost certainly you overestimated. All right. You underestimated. You over ambitioned that you could accomplish that in that time. Nothing wrong with you. Don't punish the person. You have to punish and question. You question the plan. All right. But you don't reduce yourself by disappointment, by name calling, by titles, by whatever. Whatever that critic who sits on the committee in our head would be saying to you, you don't even listen to that. You go back and you revise the plan. And you're always going to be 15 to 30 minutes better off for whatever you did. It was more than you had when you started. And if that was true, okay, if you've done that at all, and I know almost every single one of you have done it in some way, hats off. It's not an easy thing to get started doing. Right now, what would your target be first? What would the next target be for you? And please don't forget to ask yourself a few fundamental questions. The first one is, this ambition I have, this job, this whatever, is it actually a one-person job? Is it? Because many things aren't a one-person job. Then you need to get the help you need to get. Don't be taking on a 2 and 3 person job and then berating yourself and sitting down and feeling discouraged, defeated, like, oh, a failure, like, oh, that wasn't worth the 15 to 30 minutes. Don't criticize the person, criticize the plan. The other way around it, if it's not a one person job and you're the only hands on deck, 15 to 30 minutes, people. That's it. Break it down. Break it down into tiny bits that are actually a one person job. Don't criticize the person, critique the plan. And ask yourself those questions, those 3 or 4 questions that I have hounded you with. I repeat, I repeat, I repeat. Okay, what do you need? Where is it? How do you get enough of it to make enough of a difference? That's your challenge this week. And I know that if you can come here every week or even regularly, I know you can do it. I know you want to do it. And I know that quietly inside yourself, you know you can do it. You believe it. You haven't figured out how to manage that first step, which is starting. All right. I believe in you. I believe in every one of you. That's why I do this for free. I believe in you and I believe in investing in you. And I spend a lot of time researching and a lot of time producing. And that's not a guilt trip. That is an expression of the fact I believe in you because I know you can do it. And I know if you can be here, you're already part of the way started, even if you feel like you're at a dead stop. Don't let anxiety or perfectionism or fear to get up and do the little bit, whatever you can do for 15 to 30 minutes. Don't let anxiety rule, and don't try to avoid anxiety. That's unrealistic. We're aiming here at management and reduction. Hopefully, in that process, each of you is going to gradually increase what you reclaim. All right? And you're going to regain the cost that anxiety or self-recrimination demands. Now we've got about 15 to 20 minutes. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a minute or two, look at our notes, and why don't we open the mic?
Can you do it? Yes, you can. Yes, you can.